If I could have everybody's attention, we'll call the March board meeting to order. Welcome everybody, and big crowd tonight. Happy daylight savings time, I guess, and soon to be spring break. So, welcomes and celebrations. Where are we starting?
Starting with the district
video. I think I have that figured out.
I'm your host, Adam Kennedy. Within the past year, the school district has put a major emphasis on learning how students can develop their reading abilities. The science of reading has been incorporated onto all levels, and Northside has really kicked it off to a good start. With more on the story, here is Alex Dabbs.
Thanks, Adam. Today we are here at the Northside to interview Miss Teague, Miss Graham, and Miss McAdoo about the science of reading.
So the science of reading. For years and years, scientists have been doing research on the brain and researching what the brain does when we're reading and when we're learning how to read. The problem is all that information went into scientific journals that teachers never read. So it never changed what we did in the classroom to teach kids how to read. So the science of reading is all about taking that information from the scientists and putting it in a way that the teachers can understand and use in their classroom.
So the science of reading is showing us of how students or children become readers, because reading is not innate in us. It's something that we have to learn, and how we can learn that and incorporate it is through their hearing words and things like that, and working on their orthographic mapping, which has brought a lot of new science to teachers.
So they've made several different models to help teachers know how to help their students. So one that we use a lot is called the simple view of reading. So it has the fact that kids have to know how to decode. They have to be able to look at those symbols, those letters, those graphemes, and figure out what word they make. That's multiplied by their language comprehension. How much do they understand language in general? If I'm talking to them, if I'm reading them a book, do they understand what I'm saying? But you have to have both. You have to be able to decode the words and understand the language to be able to have comprehension of what you read.
The amount of work they put in and day out to help our students grow. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Alex. Coming up next, we're going to the middle school. We've been able to see the 7th and 8th graders really display the quality of leadership as they have their own student-led conferences. With more on the story, here is Jerry Putman-Portman.
Thank you, Adam. I am Jerry Putman-Portman with the District Report. We are here at the middle school interviewing Madison Street, telling us about student-led conferences.
I think that student-led conferences ultimately help the students more. The teacher is in the class as an access point if parents or students have questions, but ultimately it is giving students the ability to take ownership of their learning, and I think that that really helps them feel the responsibility of how they're doing in school and what paying attention to what they like or don't like, or where they're growing or falling short. And ultimately, when you're depending on somebody else to give that information, you can kind of become less responsible or not feel the weight of your success as much. And it allows the parents to see too how their student is doing in class from their own child's perspective, because they may not get that on a daily basis after school when they ask them how their day was. And so it's just a more in-depth look into how their student feels about their school experience.
Well, Mrs. Street, thank you for your time. Anyways, back to you, Adam.
Thanks, Jerry. And good luck to all the 7th and 8th graders as they continue to grow and enter into high school soon. I hope that they always remember and value the quality of leadership as they get older. Next, we're going to be going to Southside's Winter Carnival, The Winter Carnival was fundraised by our Adopters program, and so we sent a team down to learn more about the Carnival and the Adopters program and how generous they are to our schools. With more on the story, here's Rebecca Largent.
Thanks, Adam. Today we're here at Southside to talk with Ms. Suarez about the Southside Adopters fundraiser, the Winter Carnival.
So Adopters is a group of local businesses that's a part of the Chamber of Commerce, where each year we help the local schools put on a fundraiser to help raise funds for the schools. So we decided this year to change the theme a little bit, but basically it's a night where families can come out and enjoy a carnival type event. We're going to have different booths set up where there's going to be bowling, different crafts, different cakewalks. So it's really just geared towards kind of having a fun night for families to come out and participate in. And then in combination with that, we're going to have some silent auction items going on that evening, as well as some auction items on Facebook, trying to raise some money for the school. So they've been able to, in the past few years that I've been a part of it, they have been able to buy what's called Red Cat systems in the classroom. This last year at Southside, if you look, they have been able to use it for the walking trail that's around the playground now. Typically it's driven behind what the school needs and where they see those needs. We partner a lot with the PTO and the funds that they reserve and earn through their fundraisers as well, to try to come alongside each other and just really help the school and where they need it the most.
As you can see, the adults enjoy this almost as much as the kids do. Back to you, Adam.
Thanks, Becca. And thank you to the Adopters program for generously giving so much to our school district. Well, that's all we have for you this month. Thank you so much for watching the District Report, and we'll see you next time.
Our next celebration, I'm going to turn it over to Jacob Hayward, middle school principal, and he's got a couple to present, I believe.
Good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to shed some light on some good news and some great things happening in our building. And the first person I want to introduce to you is Miss Megan Sullivan. And Megan is going to talk about some special education experiences that they've had both in February, and maybe mention a few things that happened today. Ms. Sullivan?
So I am the coach for our Special Olympics team, and we really appreciate the time that we are given to practice Special Olympics with my students. I feel like as they practice and practice, they get more braver, and they get to experience new things. And I think that it really helps promote also not just inclusion, but it brings awareness to students with disability, and it could stop, or not stop, but lessen the bullying situation. And so I really like Special Olympics and promote it. I've always had a great team, great parents that support them, and they really get out there, and once you get them in a comfortable place, they really shine. So we've won, this is our third year to win state floor hockey. We really like floor hockey, and so we'll try to get state in other areas too. So I want to introduce my fabulous team and parents. They're at the back, if they would stand up. So just to give you some success, like today, one of my students wouldn't participate. He would just kind of walk around with us. And today he made the first goal from like almost outfield. So it was awesome that, just repeated practice and repeated exposures really, bringing them out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, we were slated to host the regional soccer tournament for the Special Olympics, and due to the current circumstances, we had to cancel that. However, the SPED department still decided to continue with local, our school and intermediate, and brought together our students to continue with the activities that they had already planned. So it was a really great day today. The second person I'd like to introduce is Mr. Jones, and he has done some wonderful work with us. He came to me a few weeks ago and said that we raised a concern that we have several bicycles that had been in our PE program that were no longer functional or usable. And we were talking about some opportunities about ways we might try to get them repaired and usable for our students to be able to use them in order to promote the healthy lifestyles that we want for our students, but also to help support our PE programs. And Mr. Jones came up with a plan, and he presented to us, and then the best plan he offered was that he would replace and repair any parts and provide all the labor for free for over 40 bicycles that we have in our school. And I'll tell you, we greatly appreciate the time and the resources that he's put into that. Our students have used them every week since he has brought them back to us, and both the enrichment opportunities we provide as well as in our PE program. So I just wanted to take a few moments to recognize and honor Mr. Jones and the Dogwood Junction. His program that he provided to us has really helped support our school in multiple different ways. So I just wanted to let him get a chance to say a few words, but I also just want to publicly acknowledge his work and our gratitude for him. Mr. Jones.
I had known for a while that all the bikes were in disrepair and they weren't being taken care of. I mean, it's not that they're just neglect over time, and they're old bikes, and so I put a bid in to repair them, and of course there was no budget available for that. And then this is my wife Monica. She works in the cafeteria here, and so one day she just said, let's just go pick them up and you can repair them. And so during the winter months, I'm very, it's a seasonal business, so I'm very, very slow during the winter. And so I thought, well, I can just bring them in. So I took in all the bikes from this school and also from the intermediate school, and I completely overhauled all of them, did 70 of them, plus the few trikes that they had. And it was just something that I wanted to give back to the community, because I really want to support a biking community here. And it's very important to me to have that bike culture and to get children. For years, I've gone over to the Southside school. The principal had me come over, and I would teach the kids about wearing helmets and safety helmets and everything. And so it's interesting that this is the kids that I fix these bikes for are the very ones that the last 4 or 5 years I've been telling them to wear their helmets and everything like that. So, but anyway, this is it was a good thing for me to do, and it kept my skills sharp, kept me working hard. So we have a few that are still left. We're going to be bringing them back over tomorrow. But anyway, it was a good project for me, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope the kids get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Jones, before you leave, it might be of interest to you that we are applying for grant money to outfit kindergarten and first grade with a Strider bike program, have 8 units, and with the goal of having every student able to ride a bike by the end of first grade. I don't know if we're going to get those 2 grants, but we have applied for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we have more celebrations.
Good.
I'd like to introduce Ross White from the high school, who will talk about a couple other things we'd like to highlight.
February is Career and Technical Education Month, so we just wrapped up February, and so in honor of that we do a lot of different things to celebrate Career and Technical Education Month. So I'm going to just share a few things that we did in regards to that, and then I have some students here that we're going to recognize for some things that they accomplished during that month as well. So we had some numerous events, and we have our Hands-On Career Fair where we bring in all of our 8th graders over and expose them to our local industry. I know some of our board members get to participate in that as well. We have our Cte Signing Day, which was new this year. When I first came, we had a lot of conversation about we really support and push our kids to be CTE completers, which means they completed a program of study. They get a cord at graduation. We recognize them for that, but we don't do anything else. Our spring is so full with so many different ways we recognize kids and award our seniors. We were looking for a unique way to do that. So this year in February, before it all starts in CTE month, we did a signing day, which I'll have some pictures on here in a minute. We do our I Am CTE posters where all of our seniors who are completing a program talk about why they are that, and they get their picture on it and they explain kind of why they chose this CTE route in their high school trajectory. We have career and technical student organization competitions that have been happening, are still happening, and then of course as our ever-changing world every day now, maybe some might be on hold, and then of course we push our students through a lot of certifications in that month. So this is some images from our hands-on career fair, and we brought in Paul Vitale for the second year just as a motivational speaker as to commit their next 4 years of high school. What's the importance? Why do we do that? Where are you going? What's your plan? Then there we go. So we bring in our local industry to talk about what's here in Siloam Springs. And so the key is hands-on, that, you know, I could sit them in a room and we could have companies talk to them about, like, this is what we do, and every 8th grader is going to glaze over and just, that's a complete waste. So we've really put it towards they're up and moving, they're not more than 10 minutes at a station, but it's our local industry telling them what they do. So Lazy Boy stepped it up this year, and they had them making some furniture for them, apparently.
They were stuffing pillows, and it's harder than it looks.
And you had an ottoman there that day too, right?
We did.
Yeah, and so, but really just showing them what it is these local industry are doing and exposing the 8th graders to them just to make them more aware. Obviously, these are just pictures of lots of other ones. We also bring in a lot of our high school programs and let them share with kids what they're doing so they can see that. So those are just some images from that day. But our big new thing this year was our signing day. And so we invited every single senior who is a completer to have a signing day similar to what you would see with like an athletic signing. But we have 175 CTE completers out of our roughly 300 graduating class right now. So that's a lot of kids. So we did it in a unique way. First time to try it. We invited parents. We had a pretty good turnout. It actually went really well. And so with that, we have this short little video clip that one of our students made about it. Was our students could signify what's their next step after high school. Are they entering the workforce? Are they continuing their education? Or are they joining the military? And so with all of our 175 completers, they called their name, they came to the floor, and they committed by signing one of our 3 posters that are still hanging in our cross connect at the high school to just signify this is kind of my next step and to commit to that. Obviously, those were all of our career technical teachers down there on the floor that could kind of, you know, give them a high five, shake their hand, give them a hug, whatever it may be, just for that connection, because most of them have a pretty strong connection with that. We also run through a lot of certifications with February. Our Serve-Safe Food Safety for our kids in the food service. Microsoft Specialist, we do that year-round, but constantly adding Word, Excel, PowerPoint students who certifying it. Our registered medical assistants who are now out doing their clinicals, but all 21 of those students passed that certification along with their phlebotomy technician piece. And then last is our FANIC, which is where I have some young men over here tonight with us that I'll tell you a little bit about it. So there's a unique piece with the Fayetteville Chamber with NWAC, with Northwest Arkansas Community College, and then a little bit of the Walton Foundation. The Fayetteville Chamber now has a fab lab, and then they have a robotics lab. And in there, they have FANIC robots, so for automation robotics. And you all got to see today, we have an ABB robot at the high school. FANIC and ABB are just different brands of robots, but our students that are in our CAS program already get the opportunity to work with the ABB robot. But FANIC, this opportunity came up this fall with the Chamber of Fayetteville, pretty much to all the Northwest Arkansas schools. You could send 8 students, and they are pretty much fully funding the students to go through this training. It's 35 hours, 1 week, 5 days a week. They were there from 8 to 4 every day, and they feed them lunch, but it's intense. And at the end of it, if they pass the certification exam, they get the FANUC technician certification, which what that boils down to, the most important part is here in our area and within, I think they give about a 150-mile radius, there is hundreds of jobs currently, with that expanding every day, and with a starting salary of about $38,000, which I would say is pretty good for a 18-year-old. So with that, their only thing is they have to pass certification, they have to graduate high school, and they have to be 18, and they get that certificate and they can use it. So I reached out, we had some of our CAF students, some of our engineering students said they wanted to go and committed to that entire week. So we sent 7. The training that cost is $15,960. That was covered through that grant that the training these students received. So that's also, you know, a pretty substantial piece that's being supported. And so tonight we just want to recognize these young men because they did commit a lot of time. They had to be at our school, I think at 7 a.m. Is that what time y'all left each morning? To go over to Fayetteville, get there on time, and then sit through that class all day in this training, and then do that for an entire week, and then sit for the certification piece, which they all pass and all have it. And once they graduate and are 18, they will have that certification piece. So I just have a few pictures, and then I'll introduce them. So there they are at the end. Obviously, we have 7. All 7 of them are here tonight because of other events and things. And then this just shows them working with, that's the actual FANUC robot. Obviously, they're mostly tabletop size for training purposes to be safer, and then also more manageable in a training environment. And so that's their instructor, Josh Watson, who's through NWAC and trains them in that. And then that's pretty much it. So I will give you our students who are here tonight. So we have Ricky. He's back here in the back. So Ricky, wave, say hi to everybody. So we have Ricky here with us, and then we have Asher Derwin. We got Mr. Borntrager here, Kyle Borntrager, who has taken off work to come see us. And then we've got Mr. Fullerton here, so Asher Fullerton. In addition, we had Darian Kaufman, who's not here with us tonight, Harrison Melberger, and then Dalton Cook. So these 7 young men have completed, passed that certification, and we are just very proud of the amount of time they committed to that. Then also they missed school, and you know, our teachers are intense, so they had a lot of stuff they had to make up out of a week out of that, and you know, and then 100% pass rate. We're pretty proud of them. So, and then the opportunities they can use with that in the future. So, if we can give them a round of applause. And of course, I told them you might ask them questions. So, do y'all have any questions for them? So,
you have plans for? Have you put out feelers for jobs or anything yet after you graduate? Or have something lined up?
Yeah. So I plan on going down to North Arkansas College out in Harrison, working for Tyson General Maintenance for about 2 years while I was in college, and then it's my degree in operational robotics and working for Tyson.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Working it out? All right. Well, congratulations, guys. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all.
And I would like to compliment our high school administration for making sure that they could actually do that. This was during, was it fall?
This was in February.
Oh, it was in February.
One of the days
So it was a full week of school that they missed all of their classes. It was presented to us last spring, and when it was presented to high school administration, it was like, we can work it out, no problem. So
one of those days was an ice, kind of the icy patches on 49 that bottlenecked everything, and they made it.
Okay, thank you. It's good. Ross?
Great stuff there. Great stuff.
That's it.
Well, we have our celebration that we went to visit the high school today. Had another good meal out of the cafeteria, and where I was amazed by how many students were in there. You know, we started out at Northside with the little guys, and man, how many? Yeah, how many were in there ish?
Probably
The
about
first
700, 2 lunches, so about 700 first lunch, and second lunch was smaller. Second lunch a little smaller, maybe 500.
Yeah,
500.
Yeah, and then got to tour see the robotic thing, and then had the choir sing us a song. We had a good time. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Mr. Patrick, comments from patrons?
None tonight,
All
sir.
right, thank you. Manny, let the minutes show that we have an established quorum, and the first item will be to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 13th and the special board meeting of February 7th and special board meeting of February 19th. And 2 special board meetings of March 3rd. Boy, I didn't realize we'd been that busy. Goodness.
Motion to approve all of them.
Second.
You don't want to do it one at a time?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Mr. Wiggins, jump to the report.
Okay, we have, on the agenda, we have a report from myself and from Ms. Carter. We're going to kind of combine this report.
Okay.
And our report tonight is going to be on what's making news. So I'm going to start this the way we did an administrator meeting a while ago. I'm going to pull up CNN, and I'm going to read you the first 3 or 4 headlines on the, well, I may, if my phone works. Okay, so the first 3 or 4, and I haven't looked, but I'm confident that this is going to work. First one is America's way of life changes indefinitely with coronavirus outbreak. No, that's not. Okay, this worked really well a while ago. Anyway, major headlines are all about coronavirus right now. And locally, as you all, well, not locally, nationally, today Disneyland closed in California. March Madness has been canceled completely. And locally, we've had Governor had a press conference this afternoon and closed 4 schools in central Arkansas, Pulaski County, Little Rock School District, Bryant, and Beebe, and said that there's now 6 presumed cases in Arkansas. I think the AAA, Arkansas Activities Association, announced late this afternoon that they are postponing the state basketball finals, which were supposed to start tonight. So the ripple effects are coming across. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an update of our week. This has been a very hectic week, and the landscape has changed daily, and it's changed very quickly. So early in the week, I met with, we had a city meeting with city administrator, the chamber, JBU, and us to discuss possibilities of events that might be coming. That was very productive, and we had some basic plans put together as far as a community. And then the next day, we brought in HR Roundtable, the Chamber's HR Roundtable, from all of our local businesses. All their HR people were invited in to have that same conversation and what it might look like in our community. So there was some great information put out there, some great flyers to post, and general information. And then all of a sudden, things got really serious the next 2 days. So we knew that at some point there might be a possibility of our schools closing or being forced to close. So we had preliminary plans of having some meetings to start talking about that and what that might look like. Today, that what if became much more probable, not definite, but much more probable with the events of today. So I asked our, well, first, put a few emails out to staff. One early in the week, general information. Today, we sent one out about student and staff travel. Became very concerned about student travel, especially out of state. And we currently have a group of students out of state and are trying to get them home. So we have shut down student staff travel out of state going forward unless we have already paid and cannot get refunds. And there's a couple of those, and we are taking those individually and trying to determine what's best for our kids in those situations. And then personal travel, put an email out about personal travel with spring break coming up. And while we can't control decisions made by our staff and faculty and students and parents, there might be, not from us necessarily, but there might be some ramifications depending on where they choose to travel over spring break. And the CDC has announced 5 countries, affected countries, that if somebody returns from those countries for 14 days, they're supposed to be self-quarantined. That list could expand at any moment, and it could include domestic locations as well at any moment. So just put something out, just general information to our staff that, you know, what you choose to do is your business. Our governor has asked for all Arkansans to rethink their travel plans. So we put that in the letter and just let them know that if something changes, there's a possibility they could be asked to stay at home at some point. So all of that information's been shared, and then with the events of today, asked our curriculum team this morning to put together an instructional plan for online learning, digital learning, for 4,300 kids, and start from scratch, and I wanted it by this afternoon. And so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Carter at this point, because she and our curriculum team have done a masterful job of putting something together on very short notice and putting a skeleton plan together. So I'm going to let Amy talk about that.
Okay. Yes, it has been a fast and furious day today. Really, I had a little heads up yesterday afternoon. So, yes, and this has been a team effort. I mean, the curriculum ladies in my office, as well as our 2 technology instructional coaches, which are Fern Voigt and Lori Clark, they came over today, so they have been a part of this whole creation. That is what they love, is the technology side. And so Lori was so giddy. It was hysterical today. Like, oh, I mean, like, she was pumped. So, like, we had to calm her down a few times, but which was great. We needed her energy for sure. So first and foremost, we needed a plan that was going to provide robust instruction. And so we need instruction to continue. We don't want to be stagnant in and just do repeated lessons or kind of remediation type things. We need curriculum to move forward, whether we're out for 2 weeks, 5 weeks, or we're not out at all. So we just need that curriculum and instruction to move on. So that was kind of first and foremost. So you do have a letter that I've typed up that Mr. Wiggins will send out either later tonight or early morning.
Already done.
Already did it. Great. So that's just kind of outlining for our teachers to begin to get prepared. A lot of our staff is already going to feel comfortable in virtual or digital platforms and doing things in that manner, but we're also going to have some in every building that are going to need support places. And Lori and Fern are ready for that. We also have a game plan to grab some people at each building to help assist Lori and Fern. So we've kind of worked through those parts because we need to make sure that we put teacher expectations in place, that this is not an option. It will happen. So now we're going to say that, but we have to support. And so that's going to provide various mechanisms. Lori and Fern are both working on different videos and tutorials that they can create, and they said they were going to keep working tonight. They're going to create some of those. We're going to work tomorrow, make sure that we provide teachers the supports that they need to be able to go to this digital virtual learning platform. So through all of that, we worked with Todd. I did earlier this morning. Can we get the devices out quick enough? Yes, we can. We kind of have some of that in place. And so it has been a busy, frantic day, but we have a packet, and it's just a draft at this point in time. Everything will be provided. Principals have the draft version, which is why we had a meeting before this meeting, and talked through. They're going to provide feedback and ask questions or whatnot, and by 9:30 in the morning, I'll have all of their feedback. And then we will work with our team again, finalize everything, and get everything out to principals and assistant principals in the digital world. We have Google Drive set up for COVID-19 and what our plan is. And so all documents, links, videos, all of that, we plan to be active by tomorrow afternoon. And I keep my fingers crossed on that one. So that's where we are. Any questions?
So is a lot of this similar to what we had planned for like snow day, or is it different?
It's a little different. Most of our AMI snow day activities were more repeated lessons, something we've already learned, and this is intended to be keeping moving forward. So part of our plan is that teachers will be active uninterrupted 90 minutes digitally for children every day. So that 90-minute span will be where teachers are online and students can chat or communicate via their Google platform or Seesaw if they're kindergarten. That's the platform they'll use. And then high school does have some Schoology platform, but teachers would be able to communicate, and then always email and phone call. We'll have a help desk, technical-wise help desk, and then content instructional-wise, students or parents would be communicating with teachers.
Our AMI plans were designed for short periods of time, a day, 2 days, 3 days. And the challenge for this was creating something that could be used for an indefinite period of time. So that's why we had to kind of rethink our plan.
Yes. So are kids then taking home devices?
Yes.
Okay.
We're already one-to-one, but you know, it's usually just passed out or utilized in the classroom. So if or when we're notified that this has to happen, then Todd and his team and additional people will jump into action to make sure that we can disperse. And really that's going to be K-8. High school already have their individual that they, you know, have bags or whatever, yeah, that they go home with. So it'll be our K-8 that we're going to have to work in a half day or so and get them passed out and checked out, because we can't just hand you one and go home. But there's a process, and Todd and Shane have been working on that piece of the puzzle, kind of the behind the scenes part that's the most important, getting it in their hands.
So Amy and I are talking about this, but there's actually multiple layers to the plan, from technology and getting the devices passed out and making sure our teachers have the capacity to do what they need to do, to making sure our nurses are ready for taking calls about student needs, to getting financial, figuring out how we're going to deal with hourly employees if we have to shut down schools, and what we are going to ask them to do during the time that they're going to be working. Don't want to, preferably we would keep everybody on contract and pay, because if you're out for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you come back, you don't want to put hourly employees in a situation where they have to go find another job, and then you don't have those employees anymore. So we want to be able to continue our services, continue employment, and so there's a whole lot of different layers to this. That the instruction piece is the key for the kids, but as far as a school district, there's a whole lot to it. And so we've had a lot of conversations in the last days and tried to figure out a lot of things. And again, it's what if. But that what if might be much more probable right now than it was a day or two ago.
What about Wi-Fi issues with families that can't get online?
Yes, that's one of the challenges that we've been talking about. So if allowed, from the state standpoint, because they'll be the ones that make that decision on if a school closes, I mean, if we're allowed, what we have been brainstorming is that one of our options is during periods of the day, we could bus kids in, or parents could drop them off for spans of time within buildings, and staff would be there to supervise and help, and students would be able to come on site. That's only if that's allowable. Parking our buses in various areas and using Wi-Fi, but again, that's limited on how many kids could actually pull from that bus. And then also having paper, like our AMI packets, having some paper available for those that need that.
And then language barriers? Are we doing it in Spanish and English and everything else?
Yep. we have already contacted Amanda, and I think, is she here? Or did she leave? Anyway.
She's working on this.
Okay, yes. Yeah, it probably is, honestly. So we're going to have everything translated. And then after our meeting earlier, we discussed that tomorrow morning she was going to get with Lori and Fern so that all videos created would also be created in Spanish so that the language barrier wouldn't necessarily be there for the majority of our kids. So we do have some things in place that will help with that.
I assume we figure that we may not get all of these, I mean, if one goes out with every kid, some may not ever bring them back, or they're lost or damaged. I mean, so there might be a replacement need at some point, or?
Yes, and we don't have cases for everything that we would send out because we haven't been sending them out. But the importance for us at this point, if it comes to pass, is to give something to them that they can use, and we will deal with the backside when we need to. We do, as with our high school students, we would offer a $15 insurance, self-insurance really is what it is. That money goes into a pot to help fix problems. And if parents choose not to do that, then theoretically it's on the parent to pay for the costs associated with fixing them.
I mean, all the high school students today look perfectly responsible to bring everything back in good condition, for sure.
So we have enough devices for every student?
Yes.
Yes, we have enough devices for every student, as well as if it comes to that and teachers also go home and are not working on site, then we could provide Chromebooks to staff members as well, so that they wouldn't be hindered in the fact that maybe they didn't have a laptop or something at home.
That was our one-to-one initiative that we spent for several years, and we will continue to spend money as we replace those on a cycle, but yes. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, good work.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It was the team.
Thank all of us, yeah.
We are going, yes, yes. Thank y'all.
Scary thought. Does that conclude?
It concludes my report, I'm sorry. Yes. And Amos.
And Amos.
So I want to briefly, extremely briefly, continue that because I want to emphasize the work that our maintenance and custodial department have been doing. Actually, for many weeks, started with flu, and it's grown into how do we defend ourselves against a virus that at some point we may have to deal with in our community. And so Randall and his team have done a wonderful job of searching out different ways to disinfect our schools, and we are using our misters routinely. We stepped that up even more so through this part. We've actually found even though the manufacturer believed that the material we were misting would work against the coronavirus, it didn't specifically say, and they wouldn't stand behind that, so we went and found another one that would, and so we're using that. Our first shipment of that came in today. He's done a great job of trying to find, because believe it or not, people are hoarding out there, and so, and the demand for disinfectants and raw materials, as one manufacturer told him today, like if we had the raw materials, we could make this stuff fast and get it to you, but we're looking for raw material to make it like we've made it. So we're running into that. We've run into that with some technology stuff. Everybody's out there reaching and grabbing, trying to get what they can get and have, so they're ready, and the supply is very limited. So, but Randall has done an awesome job for predicting what might happen down the road and being on top of things so that we can keep our schools clean. And him and his staff have done a wonderful job of that, and I really appreciate their work. Also want to emphasize the work Todd's staff has done. Our nurses, our bus drivers miss their own buses every day. They clean their buses. So every department in our support services department are doing their part in helping us in that. So I really appreciate the work that they're doing. Now I want to talk about the Northside Renovation. Believe it or not, we're about to be done. On Monday, I'm going to have Michael come up and talk a little bit, but on Monday, if I understand correctly, we're going to have a punch list walkthrough to create a punch list, and we're going to be right at substantial completion for the project. And we hope and are planning on Friday of next week, depending on what happens with everything else, we're planning on moving our administration team into their new offices on Friday. So this time, I'm going to let Mike give you a few words about what's going on over there.
I'll try to brighten the evening a little bit. It's just kind of tough to hear. It really is, but I got to say, I'm amazed at how quickly the district and the staff move. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away. I know this is not part of my report, and this is an unsolicited comment. I'm just saying, if I had any students that came to this school, I would be overjoyed to hear this. So I'm just wanting to tell you guys, this is absolutely phenomenal what I'm hearing. So
your kids are welcome anytime, Mike.
Shane is right. I am scheduled to come Monday morning to complete my punch. I actually came about a week and a half-ish ago and did a partial punch. I started from the back and worked my way to the front. And just as they were completing the front, meaning the main entrance. And so I am scheduled to come on Monday morning. When I came this past Friday, the doors were hung. It was missing some hardware. And they had been working top down and back to the front. And I think they had previously mentioned that there was a custom frame at the entrance that there was a little bit of delay there. And so that kind of held up some progress at the main entrance. But otherwise, everything's been good. And so I don't foresee any issues on Monday when I come and do my final punch. And so I do anticipate issuing a substantial completion form on Monday. So it's been good working with Ellingson. It really has.
Does the board have any questions this time?
Okay, thank you.
I'm excited to see the results.
Yes.
Okay, there are no questions on that. We'll move right along. I'm going to bring up Todd Cross, our Director of Technology. And one of the things that I learned when I first took this job from Jody is that when Todd came on board, it was a big change in what his expectation was from the previous position. So he has had to do a lot of change and a lot of rethinking of his department, and he is really pushing us forward into being prominent and being relative and being up to date with what we need to do and on top of things moving on as we move on into the next this next several years. And we're trying to stay on top of that, and Todd does a great job of leading his department and doing that. At this time, I'll have him come up and give his report from his department.
All right. Go ahead. So technology, it's a mighty big subject to talk about, and we always like to start out with kind of what's our purpose. You know, any organization does. So departmentally, just kind of as an overview, build and maintain a quality and comprehensive technology infrastructure that delivers prompt, cost-effective, and reliable technology service in a public education environment. And that's what we like to focus on. In the meetings that we have in our department, we constantly emphasize that. We don't want to be second best. We want to be the best. Private, public, as an organization, that's what we want to do. Technology landscape, it's big, it's broad, through a lot of terms up there, and we deal with it all. You know, the physical hardware, the software, all the individual devices that we had talked about, the iPads, the Chromebooks, any AV in the district, from the microphone that's in front of you and everything in here that's working, and anything in the gymnasiums, access control, getting in the doors with your badges, and all that entails. Student management system that we support. It's a state system that that we operate in, and we have to support everything with that. Video surveillance, inside and out. The cloud, switches, the interconnectivity on our network. So again, these are all the things that you deal with, and some things that aren't on here, but kind of gives you an overview of some of the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis, really. Who does all this? How do we get it done? It's with my department, and you can see that we have an administrative assistant, 2 systems analysts, 1 network analyst, 1 technician, and the 2 technology facilitators that Ms. Carter mentioned, that we share responsibility for, basically. So I just want to say these are great individuals, every single one of them, and a lot of them attended school here, graduated from here. They have a vested interest in making technology a success in this district. They're all highly proficient, and I've seen not highly proficient and dealt with those individuals at another organization, but they're on the move. From the time we get in to the time we leave, they're hooked up. And like I said, any organization would be a better place for having these people. This is our customers. This is who we support. Classroom teachers, 295. Other staff, 320. Students, 4,421. 5,000 individual customers with devices that they could have a problem with at any given time during the day. Campuses that we support, 7 campuses. And of course, we have the auxiliary departments that we also support. And classroom equipment, that's what I focused on. I mean, there's obviously other equipment that we support pertaining to the network infrastructure that I didn't mention. But as far as what we have available in the classrooms that teachers deal with every day, projectors, document cameras, desktop computers, laptops, smart boards, iPads, Chromebooks. You can see the numbers associated with those in the district. And iPads at pre-KK, and the Chromebooks at 1 through 12. So projects since I've been here, right out of the gate, our phone system that we had here was old, unsupported. We couldn't add any more phones to the system, and so we had to basically come up with a new one. It's voice over IP. So all the traffic's across the internet. And we went with the product, we got it installed, we got it up and running, and then we deployed quite a few phones throughout the district. Tried to utilize what we had. Sometimes that wouldn't work. And then, like I said, we did a big phone deployment. The email, we basically switched from Outlook locally hosted to Gmail on the cloud. That was a decent project. Access control, so these ID cards, we produce these ID cards, and we use them for access to doors at the main entrances, and we have started using them for printing. So we've kind of got into this project of not replacing printers for everybody. It's a pretty big cost savings project, and what we have done is installed access control at the actual copier / printer / fax machine. And so if you have a print job that you send, then you will walk up and you will scan your badge and it will spit your print job out. So multiple uses for the ID cards. Also at the doors, we saved a lot of money by utilizing our maintenance department to install access push button at the door. So you go walk up to the door, you push the button, it rings the phone in the office, they pick up, they're able to converse, and then buzz people in. So I know a lot of places that didn't take that project on themselves, and they go through vendors. But through my staff, through the maintenance staff, we were able to pull that off and save the district a lot of money doing it ourselves. So access points, number of access points that we replaced throughout the district. Basically giving this capability to stream 5 times faster than what we were whenever I came on. Intercom system, we've reconstituted all the intercom systems in the district. That's been partially because of the phone system that we went with, and not replacing all the phones, but also as a extra measure for anything that needs to be sent out to the school while we may have students in the hall, any type of security situation that we need to utilize that for. The switches, so the network closets, the switches, the interconnectivity within the buildings, we have been in the process of changing all those out. They're now, the interconnectivity within a building is now 10 times faster than when I came here. We will be installing the last set of switches this school year once approval for E-rate has been accomplished. So that'll be over the next couple months, and then we'll try to get those in as soon as we can. Security cameras, what we've done is taken an assessment of each campus. We are meeting with the principals individually and talking about holes in coverage, maybe internally, that we can fill. We'd like to get 100% coverage up and down the halls. And then we are taking a look at what we have on the outside of buildings, and we're trying to get 360-degree, 100% coverage on the outside of the buildings. It's going to take a while. We're working at the intermediate now. Next year is the high school, and we will continue to work our way down the list, but it's literally a year at a time. It's a lot of cameras. It's a lot of work. Again, relying on our great maintenance department to help us out with that project to get them installed on the buildings. So that's something else that we'll continue to work on. The last thing's online enrollment. We've been doing that for a while, but we've been doing it through Google, basically. The state has purchased the product for every school district in the state. We're in one of the first tiers of school districts in the state to go through the training, to bring it online, to train our staff, and that is now available, and we have a link on our website in order to accomplish that. And the benefit to it is it's kind of seamless with our student management system, to where a parent will go online, fill it out, office staff will check it, and then basically complete the transfer to our student management system, so we don't have to do any double entry, basically, because that's what we were doing before. So that's another big project, and that's pretty well it. Does anybody have any questions?
So when parents are enrolling with that system, do they enroll each student, the full enrollment for each student that's in the district, or does it used to be they would have to fill out the thing 5 times if they had 5 kids?
No, so what it'll do is actually, it'll ask you if you have another student to enroll.
Good.
And it'll capture most of that data and already populate it in the next student enrollment.
Good.
So you're only filling out what's specific to the new student.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll chime in on the online enrollment. One of the things that we're doing is we're trying to, we've got a meeting we're going to have next week with all registrars and principals, and we're going to make sure that we're standardizing that process at every school. So when a teacher or a parent goes to enroll at one school, and then the next year they go to the next school, it doesn't look different. We want to make sure that it happens the same everywhere we go, as well as make sure that we get the information each school might need, because some schools might need something a little bit different. So we're in the process of making sure that our protocols and procedures are put in place that is standardized, and that we recover, because the state gave us the system, but they didn't give us the ability to adjust it to our needs sometimes. So we've got some holes or some gaps that we got to make sure that we got fixed. But we're getting it. We're already using it, and we're just gonna make sure that we're doing everything the same.
So do they update their information on that as well? Like if they move or phone
Yes,
number?
they can.
So,
Right.
So how do we ensure that they update when they need to update?
Well, probably about the same way that we do
Do
now.
now,
I mean,
yeah.
right now, we're depending on them to tell us, and so, before we know. And so it'll probably be about the same. We can encourage them. And if they can go online and do it versus coming in and filling out a new card or a new piece of paper, we're hoping that it makes it a little bit easier for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Unless there are any questions, that's the end of my report. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move to action items. First up will be to approve the February financials.
We are 67% of the way through our school year. We have collected 70% of our projected revenue, but only spent 57% of our projected expenses. Our local revenue on your graph here, we have finally surpassed what we had collected last year. We are $100,000 ahead of where we were this time last year. So that's always good news. As you go through your packet and get to your benefits, salaries and benefits page, this month we spent 86% of our budget for the month was spent on salaries and benefits. So, and that number stays pretty consistent. It's a little bit higher this month than it has been in previous months because we had to pay for workers' comp. We only pay that one time a year. So our benefits were just a little bit higher than normal. Usually runs about 84 to 85, and this month it was 86%. We're doing really well. I'm still shocked at the bond refinance, so that kind of gives me a little bit of breathing room, but that's really all I have to report today. Do you have any questions?
No.
I move that we accept the financial report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Legislative audit.
I know this is your favorite, one of your favorite reports to read every year. I mean, it is mine. I don't know why it wouldn't be yours. So, hey. At least this year I highlighted the parts that were important to me. It's all important. Basically, the auditors came in this year and they gave us another clean bill. And I can't thank this group of people enough. We nag at them, we being the business office, we nag at them and we stay after them. But you know, they really do a great job of trying to do everything right. And it's so reflected in this report every year. So I am more than overjoyed at their hard work to make my job look good. So I want to thank everybody here for all of your hard work and just being willing to make changes and deal with the randomness that I call you with from time to time. Our single audit passed, which means we're following all of our federal program guidelines. They didn't find anything there. They did briefly mention, as you all know, that we had a trailer that was misplaced or taken from us. So that is a new part of the package that you all have not seen before because we've never really had that happen. Do you have any questions?
I would like to clarify, it was not misplaced. It was stolen.
Yes.
And we have video to prove it.
Yes. Tried to soften that a little bit.
Segregation of duties and all that, I read through that about 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still good with all that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Internal controls look good. Separation of duties was good. They didn't really have any findings. I mean, that makes me happy.
Yes, makes us all happy.
Yes.
Makes us all happy. Any other questions?
Motion to accept the audit?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for that. That's a big deal.
It is to me.
It's a big deal to all of us, you know.
Yeah.
That is that's our responsibility to make sure that financially secure. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say too, I appreciate the attention to detail that I see as I'm signing checks each week.
Thanks, yeah.
You know, and when people put in for reimbursements, that's checked. You know, I want y'all to know if there's something that's wrong, there's a line through it and it's changed. So, you know, I just appreciate that our administrators and everybody is watching carefully. So.
Thank you.
Changes to salary schedules.
I'm also happy to report that we will be adding $1,250 to our base salaries this year. Yay, yeah, clap. I'm not doing it. You all are going to allow me to do this as a district. But that, for our beginning teachers, that was a little over 3% of a raise. It's 3.125% actually. With that, we carried that same percentage across to our classified staff. So all of the beginning salaries for our classified staff also went up 3.125%. It's going to increase our salary expenditures and benefit expenditures by close to $1 million. So this was a huge undertaking. Jody worked with me and we've really thought through it. We've done scenarios. What if we did this? What if we did that? But we are very comfortable and confident that we can maintain this. It is not dependent upon the bond refinancing money. That is a one-time bonus that we get, so you don't bank on that going forward. So this is money that we have seen through the years that we have been able to carry forward, and now we're putting it back into our salaries. We did increase substitute teacher salaries as well as a couple of others just because minimum wage is going up 10% in this next year. And so that really made us sit back and look at what our hourly salaries were. We broke it down into this is what this person starts at an hour, and it was kind of eye-opening, but it was good work, and I'm proud to be able to present this to you for your approval.
Thank you for your efforts.
I can't take all the credit, Jody. Jody helped a lot.
Motion to approve salary schedules?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We do have representatives from both of our PPC. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry. So do you two have any comments?
I would only add that the certified staff is grateful. And I would also add that they are hoping this isn't the end of that, that as you review financials over the years, that as you can, that you'll continue to put it back, into the teachers and stuff. We realize we're not the big four along the 49 corridor, but it is difficult because we do see teachers leaving to go to those larger schools, and it's not easier there. Just because there's more pay there doesn't mean it's easier. But they do recognize that sometimes we end up being more of a training ground than being able to keep teachers here. But again, the overall feeling from the meeting that we had was that they were grateful and thankful for the work that you guys did in order to make that happen.
Julie, do you have anything?
The classified staff was equally appreciative and thankful to be able to see the increase.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks. I would like to thank Terry and our financial department, our business department. Having a clean audit, I think sometimes is taken for granted at this point, and I was here for a lot of years where we didn't necessarily have squeaky clean audits, and
as was I.
And so I appreciate their work, and as she gave credit to all of our staff, our administrators, I appreciate the work of all of our people to do things right, and that's on that side. That's led by Terry, and I appreciate that. And Terry was very willing to take a lot of ideas as far as how we could do some things differently this year in the budget, and I appreciate that. So I give her credit for a lot of that.
Thank you. Well, now we're going to spend some money. Some more. Yeah. Land purchase.
Okay, last month, you all had given me permission to pursue some land.
Didn't take long, did
It did not take long. You all gave me permission to pursue and negotiate for some land after our work session where we talked about some possible projects coming up in the future. And it just so happened that there was some land available and for sale that was connected to our high school. And it made sense to look at that and possibly make an offer on that. And so in your packet, you've got an offer and acceptance where I have offered on behalf of the district $300,000 for 7 more or less acres of Elrod property that is connected to our high school and has access to Sherry Whitlock. This was contingent on a number of things, with the final one being board approval. So the offer and acceptance is all in line, but it's not official until you all make it official or not. So I would recommend that we purchase this land and that you all approve that for future building projects.
Okay.
Motion to approve the land purchase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I think that's an important purchase for the district. That squares that off. It gives it a lot of options, and land didn't get any cheaper, so.
No, sir, it's not.
So that was great work, and appreciative of Elrod's to work with us, and get excited.
Yes.
And the two of us got a tour.
Yes.
It's a really nice piece of property, so we did a little off-roading and saw the whole property. Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, approve submission of program description of Mercy. Who's gonna explain that?
Amy Carter and Michelle Markovich are here to talk about a possible application for alternative learning environment at our elementary grades.
Hello. So in October of this year, a committee of our elementary and middle school principals, including Amy, Grace Davis, and myself, began to explore the need for additional intervention to provide support for some students who are struggling to exhibit academic and behavioral and social behaviors in a classroom that will help them be successful. And so what they're really needing is what an alternative environment is, and that is by definition a place that will eliminate those barriers for students to be able to make academic progress, social progress, behavior progress. So our committee has had the opportunity to visit some alternative programs that are comparable in size to our district. We've been to Gravette Upper Elementary and Middle School, Greenwood East Point Elementary, and the Alma Upper Elementary School. We've also worked with building leaders to identify potential numbers of students that we feel would be served in those classrooms. And in a configuration of K4, we have about 12 students right now who would be served. And in the grades K5 configuration, we have 10 students that seem to qualify for these services. 5-8, that is correct. We have the other one already going on. Okay. Thank you. So we're requesting your support so that we can move forward in developing program submissions approvals. These have to be before the Department of Education. We would like to request a classroom to serve our K4 students, as well as a classroom to serve students in grades 5 through 8. And these program descriptions must be submitted to the Department of Ed by March 31st at this time. We'll see if that changes, but that is our plan moving forward, and we would just like your blessing as we continue to work through this process.
So
Do you
blessing
have
on
any
the
questions?
concept?
Yes, that we can submit the program description.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Michelle has been working on our program description, and we have to create one, type one, write one for each platform, so the K4 and the 5-8. And she just sent me that today, but in the business of all the other hadn't got to that yet. So she has those in draft, and we will send those to principals so that they can put input. There are certain things with her expertise in our 912, that was an easy start for her to get the drafts started. But then we need to take hold of that and make the K4 and the 5-8 fit what they need.
Yes. Any other questions?
How does, well, you may not have the details on this, but how does this fit with like therapeutic TDT? Because that's where a lot of those kids have been possibly headed.
So I feel like this would be an intervention before a student would be going to TDT, and it also could be a place for a student to transition from TDT back into the traditional classroom setting. Hopefully, by addressing some of these behaviors, a student might not have to go to TDT. They might be able to be redirected and supported in Siloam Springs School District. That's our hope, first of all. That's our mission and vision.
That's good.
And occasionally we have students that, for one reason or another, cannot or will not go to TDT. So this would give us another resource.
You need a motion to approve this, and I would move to approve going forward with this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Great, thank you. Add that to your list. Add that to mine.
Approve a resolution permitting board member as a volunteer.
I think so.
That's you, you've got like your.
Yeah, so- Yeah. I think so. We won't be legal.
I can? Yes, actually, yes, I will. So the next item is a resolution to permit Travis Jackson to volunteer in our schools. So there's a couple of things coming up that he was interested in doing some volunteer work with the state soccer tournament and some other issues. So I would recommend that by law, we have to approve this as a board for him to serve as a volunteer in our schools. So I would recommend that we approve this.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Second and third. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. So
Okay.
now he can volunteer.
He can volunteer.
Leave.
Now, I'm curious about this, because does that mean he can only do these things that are listed here? Is that, at times, I'm thinking that I would love to volunteer for things too. And
I
do we
think
have a
it's specific to what we put in there, yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
great.
Okay.
Well, that brings us to the executive session for the purpose of resignations. So we'll excuse ourselves. Ourselves back into open session. Figure out where we are. We're right here. Approve renewal of administrator contracts for 2021.
You all have a list of all of our administrators in a spreadsheet, and then letters from all of the evaluators for all of our administrators. And I would recommend that we rehire all of our administrators on this list for the 2020-21 school year. I have a great team, and it was evident tonight. It was evident today. It's been evident this week, and it's been evident to me for a long time. I have a great group of people, and I truly, truly appreciate all the people in this room and the ones who are not in this room that are represented on this page. They do a great job for us, and they do a great job for our kids and our community. And so I'm happy to recommend all of their rehires.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you all very much. Now to the bad part of resignations.
We have a few resignations tonight. Some that were known earlier and some that came a little later. Following certified resignations, Amber Zorns, third grade teacher at Southside, has turned in a letter of resignation. Tanya Johnson, our principal at Allen. Tanya has turned in a letter of resignation to move back closer to family in Fort Smith. And we will miss her and thank her for her service in our district. Tim Hornbuckle has taken a job accepted a position at Benton School District in Central Arkansas. Family reasons played into that as well. I believe he's got kids that are going to be closer to that area of the state than this area of the state, and some extended family concerns that he needs to be closer to. And so I will also be sorry to see Tim go. Tim's been here a long time, and I've known Tim for a long time. And he's a good man, and Tanya is a good woman. Both of them good administrators for us. Grace Davis has turned in a letter of retirement. And I questioned if she was old enough to do that. And she assured me that she was, although I still don't know that that's true. She has been in our district for 5 years and was at JVU for a long time before that. And I appreciate her contributions on our administrative team. She has been very, very valuable to us. And she will be missed. She will be staying local, I think, so we might still be able to tap her occasionally to help us out with something. But I begrudgingly recommend that we accept these 4 resignations.
I don't want to make that motion. No.
Motion.
Go ahead.
Motion to accept the resignations.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you guys very much for what y'all have done. You made a big impact on kids,
Absolutely.
everybody else, and greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Mhm.
Greatly appreciate it. All right, now we need to hire the licensed staff.
None at this time.
None at this time. It says that right there. All right. Approve the change to title and position. So
For the 2021 school year.
Yeah.
I have a recommendation or a letter of recommendation in your packet from high school principal Rob Lindley, recommending that Ross White be placed on the vice principal or in the vice principal role at the high school. If you remember, we had had a vice principal at the high school for a number of years, and it's a little bit of it's a 240-day contract for one, like our principals. So that's different than the other assistants. It has a little bit different index. We have not had that position for the last 2 years, and that was because we had transition over there and new principals for 2 years in a row, and they weren't on the front end, weren't real sure where they wanted to go with that position. So I would recommend that we uphold Rob's recommendation and change Ross to be the vice principal at the high school for next year.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And again.
Same type of issue. When you all interviewed me last year and I was able to lay out a vision for the district, one of the items that I mentioned was that I thought a district our size should have 2 assistant superintendents, one over the curriculum instruction side and one over the operations side. We decided together at the time that it wasn't the right time perhaps to do that, and that we might look at it again in a year. So I'm coming to you tonight to ask that we look at doing that and give Shane Patrick the position of assistant superintendent over operations, so that we have the 2 houses of the school system represented equally as assistant superintendents.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good, thank you. Sick leaves? None?
None at this time.
Brings us to transfers.
We have 7 transfers into the district from Gentry on this action item. Maddie Goodman, age 7, Hannah Fuller, age 7, Hudson Fuller, age 8, Benjamin Burrow, age 11, Noel Burrow, age 8, Julianne Burrow, age 6, Alexis Gordon, age 12. Recommend that we accept these transfers in.
Motion to accept?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Two more transfers.
We have 2 additional transfer in requests from Gentry. Joseph Ching, age 16, Moses Ching, age 18. I recommend that we do not accept these transfers.
Move that we do not accept these transfers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now some transfers out.
We have 5 wanting to transfer out to Gentry. That would be Elliot Posey, age 14, Oliver Posey, age 10, Beatrice Posey, age 8, Landon Goldman, age 5, Emma Hutchek, age 5. I recommend that we approve these transfers out.
Motion to approve transfers out.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Brings us to other business.
Just some information. We have some classified resignations to let you know about. Shaden Snyder, ESL aide. Allie-Ann Thomas, special ed paraprofessional. Desiree Brandon, special ed paraprofessional. Callie Carter, food service kitchen aide. Jennifer Boyer, special ed paraprofessional. And then we have a couple of classified hires to let you know about. Rachel Carter is a new special ed paraprofessional for us, and Laura Harden is a new special ed paraprofessional for us. And that's it.
No other business?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
That was
Second.
quick.
Second.
Look at that. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.